talking with Nick Cooper about the state of the nation on the price of houses. It's been fascinating what you've been saying so far. I mean, probably the first person I've actually heard from an estate agent that actually has sort of held their hands up and said there has been a blip, or whatever you want to call it. Things seem to be moving in the UK again now, especially London, getting very heated, aren't they?
London hasn't actually stopped. That is a sort of a market to itself, and that is because there's an awful lot of international money coming in, not just from Europe but from the world. I think people have felt that sterling and London especially has been a tremendous place to put your money, which is safe.
In the past, this has rippled out from London.
Yes.
Have you noticed anything here?
Not that particularly. We have had London buyers coming to the island, but we haven't seen the ripple effect because it would have to go through pretty much the whole of the UK to get here. So that part of it, I don't think we have seen much of a change. But one thing that has really altered in the last year or so is the right to buy scheme, or helping to buy scheme, to put it in the right term, which has happened in the UK.
And that's the UK government.
The UK government
doesn't affect us here.
No, it doesn't. But what it's happened is that they started to stimulate the market through first-time buyers, but only on new homes. So what that did was line the pockets of the developer. It didn't help the market at large. So that was the start. But that gave an element of confidence to the market. And the reason why is because what we're now seeing is, as of January the 1st, 2014, that Help to Buy scheme now is going to be exposed and open to second-hand homes. So in other words, the rest of the market. And the figures that are coming out is that there is potentially 76,000 households that will benefit from that scheme, which is quite amazing. And that will then invigorate the market and stimulate the market.
Does the Isle of Man need something like that?
Well, I'll come on to that.
Okay.
The other thing which has happened is interest rates, of course, have been at an all-time low, 0.5% base rate. Now, Carney has come in at the Bank of England, and his style of leadership is to try to give a description of what's going to happen in the short term to medium term. And what he said very clearly is that no interest rates are going to alter in the UK until we see inflation dropping below 7%. Now, what that means is that people are definitely breathing a big sigh of relief in the UK. The interest rates aren't going to go up. They are possibly going to try and refinance. And there's quite a lot of competition in the UK market to do that. So that also has given confidence to the market, whereas previously everyone knew that interest rates were at an all-time low, and that all that was going to happen was they were going to go up. But now we've had this confidence boost that it will eventually go up, but it isn't going to happen in the next few years. So people can move in that period and refinance in that period, and that has given a definite extra spike in the level of interest.
Isle of Man.
Isle of Man. The Isle of Man has not done the same. We, as Black Grace Cowley, were involved with the Chamber of Commerce, and we went to see the Department of Social Care and said, look, this was 2011. We would like to do something of a similar nature on the island. There was a lot of sort of teeth sucking, but nothing has ever come of it. From conception to delivery in the UK, they did this in 8 months. And look what's happened. It's already reinvigorated the market.
Some may argue it's going to overinflate the whole thing and overheat, should I say?
Yes, this is Osborne's approach, that if you do this, I wouldn't call it a loss leader, but what it does is it invigorates the whole of the market. It's a very simple thing. If people move house, then the lawyer benefits, the estate agent benefits, but then so does everybody else. The removal man, people who are doing carpets, curtains, kitchens, everything else follows from that.
Well, all the top people watch these interviews. I mean, you've gone to them directly, and what response have you had? Really, I mean, nothing firm at all.
We have had a lot of. I think there's certainly been encouragement, but there's been no action. There's been a lot of talk, but nothing physically has come from this.
And how important do you think it is to get that sort of scheme?
Well, it's evident. We're in a stifled, restricted market on the Isle of Man. The UK has acted. It's acted quickly, and the results are there.
Okay. Finally, people watching this and think about moving houses. Where is the movement? Is there any movement? Which part of the market?
Yes, we are actually, I mean, we're having this interview in August. August is traditionally the slowest month of the year. We've got the Manx Grand Prix on at the moment, but we are incredibly busy on activity level. So anyone listening will be going, oh, he's bound to say we're selling a lot of house. We're not. What we're seeing is an interest. We're seeing people wanting to view, wanting to have valuations, and they're looking towards a move. So this is the biggest increase that I've seen for many a year in general, people actually saying, do you know what, I'm interested in doing something positive.
And are these people just moving within the Isle of Man, or do you still see people coming into the market fresh?
There are people coming into the market fresh, but there's a lot of them already here, and we've touched on this earlier. I use the phrase that today's tenant is tomorrow's buyer, and these potentially are people who are already on the Isle of Man who, if the UK's market continues to improve, the domino effect means that they'll sell their UK residence, which means that they're then released to purchase and to reside on the Isle of Man, which will stimulate the Manx market. So that will happen, and we're probably seeing the early signs of it, but it is a very slow burner.
You positive for the future? Well, you're a estate agent, of course you're going to be positive for the future, but I mean, seriously, where are we?
We are realists, and my position is to reflect the market. We don't make the market, and what we have seen in the last few years is some pretty dire results, but hopefully with a bit of stimulation from the government on the Isle of Man, or indirectly from the UK, we will start to see more sales. But it is all down to realism, Paul. And if the seller is realistic and the banks start to lend and be more flexible in terms of not offering silly deals, but looking at the ability to pay, which is a big part of lending these days, that people use the income multiplier, 4 or 5 times salary. It's the ability for that individual to pay, which is what it's all about. And sensible lending in an informed environment with a motivated buyer will invigorate the Manx market, with hopefully some stimulation from the government, will make things improve. But it's going to be a slow burner. We're not going to see major changes. And even when we do start seeing an increase in house sales, that is not house price inflation. That is just a return to more normality, because we really are in a restricted market. A third of the sales, back in 07 was an incredibly high number of sales. So you're comparing 2 different areas, but we are so at the wrong end of sales at the moment that the sales levels are much lower than what they should be, even in a normal slow market.